2. Bedyavyapadasacha. In this Brahma Sutra, it is stated that there is a difference between Jiva and Ishvara, while in Shankarabhasyam, it is taken that there is no difference. Mimamsa Shastra and other Shastras do not support this view. Therefore, to say that there is no difference between Jiva and Ishvara is against all Shastras or Saiva Shastra Virudam. 3. Atmakrute Parinamata. In this Brahma Sutra, Parinama Karanam Vadam is made Siddhanta, while in Shankarabhasyam, Vivarta Vadam is made Siddhanta. In fact, in Brahma Mimamsa Sutram, there is no mention anywhere of Vivarta Vadam. 4. Kartashastardadvatvat. In this Brahma Sutra, it is stated that Jiva is the karta or person responsible for all actions done through the body he is wearing at the time, whereas in Shankarabhasyam it is stated that Jiva is not the karta. 5. Vahidharmascha nasvapna devata. In this Brahma Sutra, it is stated that this creation, or Jagat, is not a dream, while in Shankarabhasyam, it is stated that Jagat is the same or identical with the dream. 6. Sharvadharmapatpatescha. In this Brahma Sutra, it is stated that Sharvajnatvam, or knowing everything, Sharva Shaktimatvam, or having all power, vigor, or vitality, i.e., Sagunam, is the attribute of Brahman, whereas in Shankarabhasyam it is stated as Nirdharmakam or Nirgunam, meaning no dharmam or no gunam, as the attribute of Brahman. 7. Utkrante Gatya Gantinam. In this Brahma Sutra, it is stated that the weight and volume of Jiva is equivalent to that of an atom, whereas in Shankarabhasyam it is stated that Jiva is the Lord himself. 8. Guham pravistavatmanehi tadarsanat. In this Brahma Sutra, it is stated that Jiva and Ishvara are seated in Hridayakash, i.e., the heart of a person, while in Shankarabhasyam, it is stated that Buddhi or intellect and Jiva are seated there. 9. Anandamaya abhyasyat. In this Brahma Sutra, it is stated that Anandamaya is Brahman. In Shankarabhasyam, it is stated that Anandamaya is Jiva only. 10. Anavrutti Sabdaat. The last Brahma Sutra coupled and read with Shruti mantra Nasa Punarvatate, meaning will not turn back to this universe, ordains that a Mukta Purush will not return back to this universe, applies only to Saguna Mukti and not Nirguna Mukti as stated in Shankarabhasyam. So from a short discussion of a few of the Brahma Sutras, we find from the Upakrama Sutra to Upashambhara Sutra, i.e., from the first sutra to the last sutra, Janmadhyasya Yataha, to Anavrutti Sabdat, referred to above, speak of only Saguna Mukti, and the entire Brahma Mimamsa is only favoring or exploring Saguna Mukti. It is found difficult for Shankaracharya to replace it, and therefore Shankaracharya wrote Adhyasabhasyam as a prelude to Shankarabhasyam, stating that Jagat Jiva and Ishvara are all Adhyaropam, or Midya, or imagery, and by realizing that they are not existing, then only Brahmatmayakam, or becoming one with Brahman, becomes possible. This is briefly the Advaita Siddhantam. Now, once this Adhyasabhasyam is taught and digested by the seeker of Brahman, if you tell him later that this Jagat or universe is existing or not existing, or tell him that Ishvara is the root cause of the universe or not, or tell him that Jiva is dependent or not dependent, or that Brahma Tattvam is Saguna or Nirguna, the person will only think that by Adhyarapam everything is real, but in Paramartha Dristi everything is imaginary or Midya. So after one reads and digests Adhyasabhasyam, even the Brahma Sutrakara, i.e. Vedavyasa himself, cannot change his mind. Just as a pleader before examination of the witness tells the court that the witness is of unsound mind, how can the judge believe in his evidence? Therefore, Adhyasabhasyam is meant to turn the entire Shastra upside down, and is considered by many scholars, including those following Shankarabhasyam, as not authentic. Therefore, since Suddhadvaitam is against Brahma Sutras, Shaivites have accepted Shivadvaitam. Sutrakaras, like Rishis Apastamba and Aswalayana, have rejected Advaitam and established Dvaita. Mallikarjuna Panditaradya and Somananta Mahakavi have also rejected Suddhadvaitam. In the commentary to Siddhanta Sikamani by Mamandala Virabhadra Sudhi, titled Hayangavina Vyakyanam, it is stated as under Hayangiva Vyakyanam, Shivagama Shivadvaita Rahasya Paramardrikai Kadyate Shiva Siddhanta Tantram Sastala Nirnayam Shivadvaita Parijnana Paramananda Bodhitam. The Siddhantam followed by Shaivites is Shaivadvaitam, and also in Shaiva text Shaivadvaita Kalpa Latika, Mulugu Papayaradya, and author of Devi Bhagavatam, referred himself in his works as Paramashivadvaita Pandita, and Nilakanta Bhasyam is the Bhasyam propagating Shivadvaita philosophy. It is also called Vishishtadvaitam or Vishishtadshivadvaitam. Nilakantacharya is acknowledged as a predecessor of Adi Shankaracharya and stated that Shaiva Mahadiksha is a must for Mumukshu, or the seeker of Brahman, while Upanayana Diksha gives authority for a person to study the Vedas and perform Vedic rites. Unless one gets Shiva Maya Diksha, he does not get authority to perform Ishvarapasana uninterruptedly throughout his lifetime. Svetashpratara Upanishad Mantra. Teshamevaitam Brahma Vidyam Vadeta Sirovratam Vidivaidyastuchirnam. This Svetashpatara Upanishad mantra clearly ordains that one who has taken upon himself Shirovritam, as laid down in the scriptures, he alone is eligible for seeking Brahma Vidya and not others. What is Shirovritam? Shruti says, Vatulatara Shivagamam, Atyasramam Pasupatam Sambhavai Sirovratam Itidam Namabi Punayir Nigamanteshu Kirtyate. This Vatulatara Shivagama says that Atyashramam, Pashupatam, Shambhavavratam, Siravratam are all synonymous with a person wearing linga and following Shaiva Mahadiksha. Such a person is praised in the Vedanta text as a Shiva yogi. Lingadharana Chandrika. Lingam Shiva Bhavet Shritram Angam Sham Yoga Masraya Tasma Lingana Samyukto Yopiso Atyasrami Bhaveta. This sloka from Lingadharana Chandrika says that whoever is wearing a linga on his body is called Atyasrami. This is stated that Shivrovritam is a must for those following Atharvana Vedam. Yet in Sutta Samhita it is stated, Sutta Samhita, Vratam Pashupatam Chirnamai Dvajaradare Natu Teshame Vopavestavyam Iti Vedanu Sasanam. That only those who follow Pashupata Vratam are eligible for Tattvapadasham, and so ordained by the Vedas. Sri Vidyaranya, while starting commentary on Parashara Smriti, says, Parashara Madhaviyam, Atta Pashupata Vrata Purva Devo Padesana Bhuva Dasanubhava Paryanto Bodho Bhavatiti Vaktum Dvitiyadhyaya Arabhyate. In order to gain subjective knowledge, one has to take upon himself first Pashupata Vratam, and that to establish this fact, he is starting the second chapter. However, Adi Shankaracharya stated that for one to know Brahma Vidya, he should have acquired sadhana chatustayam, and for acquiring sadhana chatustayam, one has to take sannyas. Therefore, Advaita philosophy closed down the doors for all, except to those taking sannyas. This is not accepted in Shaiva Siddhanta, as it has no Vedic sanction. According to Shaiva Siddhanta, as propounded by Nilakantacharya, everybody of all varnas and all ashramams have a right to know the Brahman, and one need not become a sannyasi for knowing Brahma Vidya. Nilakantacharya stated in his Bhashyam that Shaiva Mahadiksha is a must for a seeker of salvation. This Shaiva Mahadiksha consists of wearing bhasma, rudraksha, and shivalinga on the body of the person, and includes in effect 3 dikshas called Vedamanu and Kriya dikshas. These can cleanse the stula, shukshma, and karana sarirams, or bodies. This diksha, unlike panchayatanam, is stated in the Vedas, and therefore it is Vaidikam and not Tantrikam. It is also stated in a more detailed form in Shiva Puranam and Shivagamas, like Chandrajnanam, Karanam, Karnotaram, etc. Shadadvasuddhi is a precondition for taking this diksha, and this is stated in Shivagamas in detail, and they have to be referred to for a detailed study by the seeker of Brahman. Shruti Mantra. Advanam madvapate srestasya advana paramisya paramasya. This Shruti Mantra mentions Shadadva Sodanam, i.e. invoking Shiva as Pranavavachaka to come to the rescue of the seeker of Brahman, to absolve him of all his sins. This Shadadvasuddhi is normally done at the time of Upanarayanam to get Dvijatvam, and a question may be raised why it should be taken or repeated at the time of taking Shaiva Mahadiksha. The reason is that though this Advasodanam is taken in brief at the time of Upanayanam, to get Karmadikaram, it should be taken in a more detailed fashion, as stated in the Vedas, to get Upanasadikaram, or the right to perform Shiva Pashana for worshipping Shiva, because the Shruti says, Narudo Rudra Marchayat, throughout his lifetime uninterruptedly. That is why those who have taken Shaiva Mahadiksha need not perform Shaiva Mahanyasam every time they perform Shiva Puja, 6 times of necessity a day, called Shatkala Shiva Puja. 1. Arunodaya. 2. Tapanodaya. 3. Sangava. 4. Madhyanika. 5. Sayankala. 6. Artaratra Shiva Pujas. B. Shivadvaita philosophy is now explained in detail below to highlight the Shaiva Vidya Samanvayam stated by the author in this 35th sloka. Sruti Mantram. Vidyancha avidyancha yastad vedo ubayagum saha. This Shruti mantra ordains that karma and upasana are both necessary for reaching Brahman, and supports the karma jnana samuchamvadam as propounded by Nilakantacharya. Here vidya means jnanam, or knowledge, and avidya means karma. However, Adi Shankaracharya interpreted vidya in this Shruti mantra as upasana and not jnanam. For upasana, karma is necessary, but for acquiring, it is different. Jnanam can only be experienced while karma cannot be experienced. Therefore, for Grihastha, Shankaracharya laid down that he should perform karma only as he has no authority to hear Vedanta unless he takes up sannyasa. Sannyasya sravanat kuryat. It is stated earlier here, while discussing briefly the Advaita Siddhanta, the Acharya stated that the seeker is Brahman, i.e. Soham Bhavana. If this Advaita Bhavana is to be followed by all leaving karma and upasana, and the seeker goes on chanting that he alone is Brahman, the Acharya felt that people will get lost, so he stated that all, including grihastas, should follow karma, and upasana, while jnanam is only to be followed by sannyasis. Therefore, in Advaita philosophy, there is no tie-up with both, i.e. karma and jnana. Sannyasis alone have authority to acquire jnanam, and karma and upasana are to be followed by grihastas. This resulted in people professing different faiths, giving different interpretations on Brahma Tattvam to sink their differences and join the ocean of Advaita philosophy. However, Nilakantacharya interpreted Vidya in this Shruti mantra as upasana, and this is in addition to jnana, and therefore jnana only. According to Nilakantacharya, performing upasana, doing karma, is the instrument for Ishvara Sakshat. Karam Ishvara Sakshat Karam is aparokshanubhavam, and there is no other thing as anubhava jnanam. So according to Nilakantacharya, only karma sahita, or doing karma upasana, leads to Ishvara Sakshatkaram. And both should be performed by all, as every human being has authority to know the ultimate reality, or the Brahman. So the Acharya laid down a relationship, or a tie-up, between upasana and karma. However, Basasveshvara of Kamataka, accepting Shankaracharya's philosophy to some extent, stated that for acquiring jnanam, karma is not necessarily required, and has taken Shaiva Mahadiksha as it is necessary for upasana, and through upasana alone, Ishvara Shankatkaram can be obtained, which is the ultimate goal for any sadhaka, or the seeker of salvation. In the Kali Yuga, when it is supposed that the Dharma runs only on 1 foot or pada, instead of 4 feet, Shankaracharya felt that karma charanam is an obstruction for jnana sadhana, which is the realm of those taking sannyas. However, Nilakantacharya's opinion is that karmacharanam is also Ishvaropasana, i.e. performing karma is also service to God. How can Varna Ashrama, Dharmanustanam, meaning the code of conduct followed by the 4 castes, each in their 4 stages of life, i.e. Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa, laid down by God himself, cannot be termed as service to God? As per the orders of the king, service done by his subjects comes under service to king only. However, service to God is of 2 kinds. One is following his orders, service done to Indra, Agni, etc., and the other is service or aradhana done to God alone. Here, as per the directions of God as laid down in the Vedas, performing nitya and namitika karmas, or actions performed daily and actions performed on occasions to Agni, Indra, and other celestial deities, is called karma marga, or path of karma, and aradhana done exclusively to God, or Brahman, is upasana marga. To consider or not to consider service to his subjects is lesser in proportion to service to God himself. It is not in our hands, for all the creatures in this universe are under his control. Therefore, as per the wishes of God, when the Vedas proclaim everyone to perform nitya and namitika karma by serving Agni, Indra, etc., how can one refuse to perform them and still claim that he is not disobeying God's instructions? So everyone should perform nitya and naimittika karma, and at the same time also Ishvarapasana, to become eligible for moksha or salvation. This is the view of the Purvacharyas, and according to the Vedas, as stated by Nilakantacharya. In Shankaracharya philosophy, moksham can be obtained only by acquiring jnana, jnanadvetu kaivalyam, and for acquiring jnana, the authority to acquire vests only with sannyasis, and grihastas have only the right to perform karma. Therefore, in Advaita philosophy, there is no tie-up with both, i.e. karma and jnana. Then scholars will question whether the entire Advaita philosophy is against what is stated in the Vedas. There is some truth and some imagination, or kalpitam. The seeker identifying himself with Brahman is the truth, and the rest is all imagination, or kalpitam. This was stated by Adi Shankaracharya himself in his Brahma Mimamsa Bhasyam, that Jiva Brahmakyam is the essence of all Vedas, and the rest is all midya or kalpitam. To say that Brahmatattvam is nirgunam and God's names are all imaginary or kalpitam, it appears these are intended to set at rest the differences among the various religious sects and to do general good. Otherwise, these views will be against the Srutis and Smrutis. Shruti Mantra, Brahma Mimamsa. 1. Satyakama Satyashankalpa Sarvadharmapapatescha. 2. Namarupe Vyakaranani. These Shruti mantras say that God possesses gunas and dharmas and names. How can one say that he does not possess them, to call him nirguna? For a detailed understanding on the merits and demerits of the Adi Shankaracharya's Advaita philosophy, the interested readers are advised to go through the author Nagalinga Shastriji's works such as Brahmapadyam, Vyasapadam, Vidyasthana Vinimayam, Vedantara Parishkara, Taraharam, etc., and in particular his commentaries Shiva Chintamani Prabha, so that they can judge for themselves as to how far the Advaita philosophy is following the Vedas and Brahma Sutras. These books of Nagalinga Shastri Gurau in Sanskrita are recently translated into Telugu by Sri Nirmala Shankara Shastri Gurau and published by Shivajanana Lahari separately, which may be perused. In the Saiva Siddhanta pronounced by Nilakantacharya, both karma and jnana are considered essential for the seeker to practice. If karma is short, jnana will protect him. If jnana is short, karma will protect him. For a person climbing a tree, the upper branch is like jnana, i.e. like a handle, and the lower branch is karma, like a foothold. If he cannot catch the upper branch, he cannot go up like one failing in jnana, missing urdhava lokas, or heaven. If the foothold branch breaks due to failure of karma, he can still hang on for some time before falling down. If for any reason the person fails in both, his fate is doomed, but you cannot find fault with the Matacharya. This is not so in Advaita philosophy, wherein the right to acquire jnana vests with sannyasis only, and grihastas have to perform karma only. Again, Kali, the lord of this yuga, polluted the karma or action so much so, the grihastas are unable to do both. In Saiva Siddhanta, however, they have been permitted to do both. This is called karma jnana samuchayavadam, and is better explained by the following sloka. Apasyan andako dagdaha pasyandahati pangulaha andapanguvadanyona sapekshe jnana karmane. In this sloka, Andapangulanyayam is stated. It means that when a house is burning, the blind man, Anda, was burnt because he could not see. The cripple, Pangula, was burnt down because he could not walk and get away from the burning place. However, if the blind man takes on his shoulder the cripple will show the way, and the blind man carrying the cripple can both get out of the burning place and save themselves by helping each other. So also jnana, like the cripple, and karma, like the blind, both followed and practiced simultaneously, can protect a person and lead him safely to reach God. Therefore, both the karma marga and the jnana marga are essential. Since Vedas are themselves divided into two parts, called Karmakanda and Brahmakanda, the rituals like Upanayanam and Adanam, mentioned in Karmakanda, give a person authority to do karma only, whereas Shaiva Mahadiksha, mentioned in Brahmakanda, gives authority to do Isvarapasana. The authority for this is stated in Svatespatara Upanishad and others quoted below. Svatespatara Mantra. Tesham Brahma Vidyam Vadita Sirovratam Vidhi Vadyastu Chirnam. This Svetasvara mantra, already stated earlier, emphatically says that those who have taken Tiravratam, as ordained by the Vedas and Agamas, are only eligible for knowing Brahma Vidya, and others not. What is Sriravratam is stated a little earlier as Shiva Mahadiksha and nothing else, as the slokas in some commentaries, like carrying fire on the head, etc. Let us see what Shiva Rahasya Kandam in Skanda Purana says. Shiva Rahasya Kandam, Skanda Purana. Na kriya rahitam jnanam, na jnana rahitam kriya, ma pasyanand ko dagda pasyan, dagdascha panguka, agni jwalana samugat, ushtnam bhavati. Varichajnanamantaha kriya bayaha yekebhava sambhita yadya jalam tadyukumbe bahiragni pravitam. This sloka on emphasizes the karma jnana samachavadam. It says that kriya or action without jnanam or knowledge and jnanam without kriya and kriya without jnanam are both useless, like the cripple and the blind burning themselves individually as stated above. What is chanted internally or antarlingaradhana should be supplemented and worshipped outside by bhayalingadharana, and what is chanted by the mind should be uttered by the mouth and worshipped by the hand, just like water inside the pot getting heated up by fire from outside. Antarlingadharana or pranalingadharana becomes fruitful by bhaya or outside ishtalingadharana, and therefore bhayalingadharana is necessary even for jnanis and the well-versed in the Vedas. That is why we find Chandramalishvaradhana, normally considered as karmakanda, is done daily even by sannyasis in all the Advaita Pitams established by Adi Shankaracharya. Now to sum up, since in Shankara's Advaita philosophy, Brahmajnanam means Anubhavajnanam and not Ishvarapasana, Ishvarapasana is relegated to the background, and Shaiva Mahadiksha, which confers authority to do Ishvarapasana, is ignored. In Bhashaveshvara philosophy, since Ishvarapasana is considered essential, Shaiva Mahadiksha is taken, and since Karmacharanam is considered not essential, Upanayanam, which confers authority to do Karmacharanam, is ignored. However, in Nilakanta philosophy, both are considered essential because Ishvarapasana, performed according to what is ordained in the Vedas, only confirms moksha or salvation. This is the essence of Shaiva Siddhanta, which the author is stating in the second para of the 35th sloka. Again, the following Shruti mantra says, 1. Isam jnatva amruta bhavati. This means that by knowing Shiva alone one gets salvation. Some persons tried to give the meaning keshava to the word as in this mantra, but another Shruti mantra was earnest to correct him and clear the doubts. 2. Jnatva shivam shantam atyantameti. This Shruti mantra clearly says that by knowing Shiva alone one gets moksham and kaivalyam. The Isha Shabdam in the first mantra cannot be interpreted as Keshava, and Sanskrita scholars on Nigantu will not approve this interpretation. Even if Isha is used while speaking of Narayana, it should be understood in a general way as king, according to the usage therein, and not as Narayana, so they lost all hopes on some portions of the Vedas and went to the extent of dividing them as Sattvikam and Tamasim, etc., because they were completely dejected, Nirasa Pitartho Gatta, as the saying goes in Sanskrita. Some even approached the Veda Purush with a request to tell them a way to get moksha or salvation without worshipping Shiva. Then Veda Purush said, Svetesvatara mantra, Yadacharma vadakasham vesta ishyanti manava tadashiva avijnaya dukshyanto bhavishyati. They can get moksha without worshipping Shiva if they can roll up Akash, or the cosmic universe, like the one who rolls up a skin mat, thereby conveying the meaning to them that it is an impossibility. So all the Shrutis and Smritis eulogize Shivapasana as an essential requisite to get moksha. I have seen in some prints on Svetesvatara Upanishad that the word Shiva is replaced by the word Deva, and the readers may judge the truth themselves. Finally, it may be pointed out that for a seeker of Brahman through Saiva Siddhanta, there is no contradiction in his grooming, or at upbringing, or learning, or teaching, or in his offering prayers to God, or the ultimate reality in his day-to-day life throughout. One Shruti mantra says, Pinda jananam janana kaleshu dharanoschate. The moment one takes birth and is born, he should be smeared with bhasma and rudraksha and linga tied around his neck. This procedure is said to be still followed in Vaishnava Sampradayam in parts of Kamataka by Lingayats, but it is done only after Upanayam by Srotiyas or Brahmins, and other Dvijas, i.e. Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, in Andhra and other places at the time of an Upanayam and taking Shaiva Mahadiksha. Therefore, the tie-up with Shiva starts at birth itself. Again, at the time of Aksharabhyasam, or initiating the boy to studies, the student starts writing by saying, Om Namah Shivaya Siddham Namaha, meaning that he is offering prayers to Vidyanta or Shiva. The following Shruti mantra is very clear in this regard. Narayana Upanishad mantra. Ishana Sharva Vidyanam Ishvara Sharva Bhutanam Brahmidipatir Brahmano Adipatir Brahma Shivo Me Astu Sadashivom. This Narayana Upanishad Shruti mantra clearly says that Shiva is Lord of all Vidyas, Lord of all Bhutas, Lord of Brahma the Creator, and Lord of Brahmans and Mangala Prada, or showering Shubhams, or good things always, and identifies Shiva with Brahman. Again, at the time of Upanayanam, when one is initiated into the Gayatri mantra, he is asked to chant, Bhargo devasya dimahi diyo yonaha prachodayat. This Gayatri mantra contains the word Bharga, which means Shiva only. The Gayatri Dhyana sloka is quoted below. Mukta vidrumani lahemadavala jayahir mukaitrikshinai rukta mindu nimdaratna makutam tatvarda varnatmikam gayatrim varada abhya amkusha kasha sabroham kapalam gadam sankyam Chakramadaravindha yugalam hastayir vahantim bhaje. In this dhyana sloka, the seeker is only praying Shiva having 5 faces with 5 matching colors, as stated in the Pancha Brahmana mantrams, eulogizing the 5 faces of Shiva in the same order, and 3 eyes, etc. So the seeker is praying Shiva at the time of Upanayanam. And this mantra exhorts him that its application is for Sayujyam, as quoted below. Sayujyam viniyogaha pancha sirshopanayane viniyogaha. Panchashirshas, or 5 faces, which are worshipped with Pancha Brahma mantras. 1. Sadyojata. 2. Vamadeva. 3. Akora. 4. Tatpurushaya. 5. Ishana Sharvidyanam are only for worshipping Shiva and for none else. Again, the seeker of Brahman is given Shaiva Mahadiksha with Basma, Rudraksha, and Linga, and the Deshika or Guru gives the very Panchakshari mantra only to the seeker, and the student is initiated into the study of Vedas and told, Adato Brahma Jijnasa. This Brahma Sutra is exhorting the student to know Brahman, who is Shiva alone. Therefore, the seeker of Brahman in Shaiva Siddhanta, or the student of Shaiva Siddhanta, is told since birth to worship, wear, and chant Shiva Namam only, giving one meaning for the words Shiva and Brahma used as synonyms throughout, without contradiction or without creating confusion in his mind. Although this is called in Purva Mimamsa Shastra Ekavakyata Siddhi or Adankatva. The student of Shaiva Siddhanta is thus blessed effortlessly with this Ekavakyata Siddhi, or one sentence throughout, so that he can uninterruptedly perform Shiva Pashana as ordained by the Vedas and get mukti, or salvation. This is not so for seekers following other Siddhantas. This is the real greatness of Shaiva Siddhanta. So much meaning is conveyed by the author in this 35th sloka on the greatness of Shaiva Siddhanta, that in order to understand this in detail, the basic tenets of other Siddhantas have to be mentioned briefly vis-a-vis Shaiva Siddhanta for the reader to understand in a dispassionate and comparative way, and not with any slightest intention to criticize them. C. Thirdly, it is stated in the 35th sloka that profit or good derived by following the Shaiva Siddhanta is mukti or moksha, or relief from the bondage of the cycle of births and deaths. This has been stated at length in this book, and let us see what this Agama Shastra sloka says. Rudraksha dharanat padam ardam vai buddhi dharanat tripadam mantra japyascha pujaya purna bhaktiman panchaksharam japenaiva sharva siddhim labenaraha. One becomes a quarter of a devotee or Shiva Bhakta by wearing Rudraksha, and half also by wearing Basma, and 3/4 by chanting Shiva Namams, and full by performing Shiva Puja to Shiva Linga worn on his body. By chanting Panchakshari 21,600 times a day, the person gets all boons or Shaiva Siddhis. So for these 3 reasons, Shaivam is considered Tattvikam, or real or true Siddhanta for the good of all. In Sutta Samhita, it is clearly stated that mukti or moksha, or salvation, can be obtained only by following Shaiva Siddhanta, and not by following other Siddhantas, and that followers of Vaishnava, Shakta, and other Siddhantas have to get birth in the end as a Shaivite, and end by following Shaiva Siddhanta only. One gets salvation. Chapter 11. Reasons for not following Shaiva Siddhanta in Kali Yuga. Sloka 36. Dadichi Gautama Adyarshi Saptaye Brahmanandama Nindakaste Bahishkarya Shambhasyatstu Vaidikai. The author is closing the discourse stating that Maharishis, Daidichi and Gautama, have cursed certain Brahmins for committing Shiva Ninda, or belittling Shiva. Those Brahmins born in this Kali Yuga are all out to misinterpret the Vedas and are not fit for a dialogue with the followers of the Vedas or Vaidikis. The author is emphatic in stating in this sloka that those following Shaiva Siddhanta in letter and spirit are only Vaidikis and others not. The author dealt with this subject in detail in his book Mata Vinoda Charcha, meaning an entertaining religious discourse. In chapter 6, there are, as also in other places, which is briefly reproduced below for the benefit of the readers. The author attributes the reason for not following Shaiva Siddhanta in letter and spirit in Kali Yuga mainly due to Kali Prabhadam. In this book, Vidyasthana Vinamayanam, an authoritative text identifying the Vidyasthanams expounding the Hindu religion, the author stated that Yugapurush Kali has already entered and started this work of spoiling the educational system in this country by spreading disinformation about the authoritative texts as non-authoritative and created modern texts as authoritative, and in the process pulling down the grand edifice of the culture of this great country to smithereens. One example among many others given him in this regard is about the modern book titled as Adhyatma Ramayana, besides Ananda Ramayana, etc. The author, Nagalinga Sastri Guru, in his book Matavinoda Charcha, written in Telugu in a dialogue form as a discussion between three persons professing three philosophies, via Saiva, Vaishnava, and Advaita, established that the book Adhyatma Ramayana is the handiwork of an unknown Durta Smarta, written in his Bhakti Paravasyam, eulogizing Rama as Parabrahman. Ramavartaram is unique in many respects. Rama is the only Purushottama after the creation started, and there were none to beat him in this regard. Born as a human being, it is only Ram who has risen to such dizzy heights for being called as Deva without ever exhibiting Daivatvam, unlike the Krishna Avatara, and was praised as Rama Vigravan Dharma, i.e. an embodiment of Dharma or Dharma Svarupa. It is only Ram who has shown to the world how a human being should behave vis-a-vis his parents, relatives, friends, and the public at large, and has become a pujaniya by one and all, and his greatness is unassailable as long as this world creation lasts. Now, when this book titled Adhyatma Ramayana was first published some 100 years back, there was no mention of the Karta or author of this publication. When it has come for print, the Sanskrita scholars, abounding in the Andhra area, sensing that this book is only of a recent origin and kalpitam by a Ramabhakta, have cleverly given the authorship to Vishwamitra and printed it so that intelligent people could easily discern the truth of this publication as Vishwamitra Sruti. This fact was stated by Brahmasri Lakshmi Narasimha Shastri Guru, resident and Asthana Pandit of Sri Kalahasti Temple, and so far none could establish this book as Arsham. On the other hand, with the increase in publishing books by all and sundry, some gullible persons believe this publication is by Vishwamitra himself and published it as such, while it was stated at many places by many authors, scholars, and writers of repute that Mahabharatam was written by Vedavyasa and Srimad Ramayanam by Valmiki Maharishi. It was nowhere mentioned in any of these books about the existence of this book or about the authorship of this book, Adhyatma Ramayana, as written by Vedavyasa or anyone else. Sri Nagalinga Shastri Guru brought out the true nature of this book as for spreading disinformation, and it is not at all an authoritative text. And on the other hand, Sharva Shastra Virudam, as briefly stated below. 1. Mahabharata, Drona Parvam, it is stated that Adi Vishnu prayed Shiva in Lingarupa for 60,000 years, breathing only air on Mainakaparvat, and even offered his eyes to please Shiva and got various boons from Shiva, including chakram and beautiful eyes. The statement in this book that Shiva prayed Ram, one of the 10 incarnations of that Adi Vishnu, is ridiculous, and also Mahabharat Virudam. 2. In Valmiki Ramayana, it is stated that Sri Ram, king of Ayodhya in Treta Yuga, performed Ashwamedha Yagna to release Shiva and also installed Shivalinga at Rameshwaram to get rid of Brahmahatya Dosham for killing Ravana Brahma. The statement in this book that Shiva considered Rama above him is Ramayana Virudam. 3. While Ramavataram is considered in all Puranas as one of the 10 avatarams of Mula Vishnu, to mention in this book that Ramavataram is superior to all other 9 avatarams, and even Mula Vishnu is against all Puranas. 4. It is stated in this book that Shiva preached Rama Mantram to Parvati and also to persons dying at Kashi. It is also stated in this book that the same Ram installed Shivalinga at Rameshwaram. these two statements are contradicting each other, i.e., paraspara virodham. 5. It is also stated in this book that when Indra and others asked Mahavishnu the meaning of the word Rameshwar, he informed them as Ramesyeshwaraha, meaning Rama's god is Shiva, and when the same question was put to Shiva, Shiva stated as Rama Ishwarayasya, meaning Shiva's god is Rama, and when the same question was put to Brahmaji, the creator, he said that both are gods on their own. Such Virudavadams contained in this book or Grandam cannot be called as Arsham or authentic under any circumstances, and the writings in this book go against what is stated in all other authentic texts like Shiva Puranam, Vishnu Puranam, Bharatam, Ramayanam, Brahma Sutras, and Mimamsa Shastrams, etc. 6. Sri Mahavishnu is the Mulam for Ramavathrama, and Sri Mahavishnu does not bear the name Rama and is only worshipped under Narayana Ashtaksharam. And in such circumstances, how can Rama Mantram speak of Mahavishnu as stated in this book? 7. It is also argued by the promoters of this book, even to the extent that the Mula Parabrahma Tattvam of Sri Mahavishnu is only Rama Mantram Pratipadyam. Then the question arises whether Sita is the wife of Ram or the Mula Parabrahmam, whether Lakshmana is the brother of Dasharatha Rama or the brother of that great Parabrahmam. Again, while in Adhyatma Ramayana only the history of Dasharatha Rama is sung, how can it be called as the history of the Parabrahman? 8. What is the reason for Shiva to preach Rama Mantram to Parvati, as stated in this book, ignoring even the Narayana Ashtakshari mantra being the Mula Mantram? Which mantra was Parvati and others praying these billions of years till Ram was born in Treta Yuga? Therefore, this statement that Shiva preached Rama Mantram to Parvati is utterly ridiculous and incorrect, and not accepted either by Shaivites or Vaishnavites. 9. In Valmiki Ramayana, considered as authentic, Ram is said to have stated to Sita while returning from Lanka that Atrapurvam Mahadevam Prasada Makarud Vibhuhu, meaning that he was able to do all this only with Shivanugraham. The statement in this book that Shiva considered Rama above him is Ramayana Virudham. 10. It is also claimed by some persons that Rama Mantram is Tarakam, meaning that it will redeem the seekers from their births and deaths, and no authority is quoted by them except the statement in this book followed by this sloka in Kali Santaranopanishad. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Then the question arises, why Shiva only preached Ram Tarakam to Parvati and not Krishna Tarakam? Further, in Kali Santaranopanishad, after saying the above 16 names, it is stated that Atat Shadashakam Namam Kali Kalmasha Nasanam, meaning these 16 names are capable of cleaning a person of his sins committed in this Kali Yuga, and it is well known that by praying 5 persons, namely Karkotata, Naganala Maharaj, Damayanti Devi, and Rajarishi Ruthupama, one gets absolved of the sins of Kali Yuga, and so also the names Ram and Krishna stated above, and nothing else. 11. The word Tarakam is only applicable or speaks of moksham, i.e., coming out of this samsaram or cycle of births and deaths, and this Taraka Samjna is applicable only to Shivanamams and not for other namams, and this was explained in detail in this book with authentic quotations from the Jabalopanishad, etc. It is a pity that in recent times the spreading of disinformation has gone to the extent of blatantly printing this book, Adhyatma Ramayana, mentioning the author's name as Vedavyasa himself, without bothering to give any authentic source. The seekers may judge and find out the truth themselves. Chivarakshatu, Skanda Parana Shankara Samhita, Dadichin Gatamena Taye Brahmanandama Kalava Avatarishvyanti Nindakaste Bahishkruta. Skanda Purana Shankara Samhita says that those Brahmins cursed by Dadichi and Gautama are born in this Kali Yuga to rebuke Saiva Siddhanta and are called outlaws. Skanda Purana 1. Buddhi Brahm Sat Parenasta Mohanena Vinasita Anye Matabhimanena Nasta Matpita Anya Matasako Nahamatreti Kechana. Skanda Purana says that some persons got lost because of loss of intellect, that is, insanity, some because of confusion in their minds in understanding Shaiva Siddhanta, some because of their liking of other faiths and philosophies, and some because of their parents embracing or converting to other faiths, and the person himself not interested in following his Vamasacharam. 2. Rudra Pinda Samutpanna Rudra Bhummo Layam Gatta Pittaram Nabhijananti Tattam Vesya Sutto Yadha. Skanda Purana says that just like one born of a rake, not knowing his father, such persons are born and are laid to rest in the burial ground, and the cycle continues. 3. Yahaput Trapitaram Dvestita Vindya Danya Retasam Yeshiva Dveshino Martya Anyareta Samudbhava. This Skanda Purana sloka says that whoever rebukes his father is to be treated as one not born to him, and so also whoever rebukes Shiva is not born to his father. Bhagavatam 1. Hasanti yasya haritam hidurbhagaha. In Bhagavatam, it is said that only those persons whose parentage is doubtful are laughing at Shiva Charitam or Shaiva Siddhanta. 2. Karnopidaya niryadaeda kalya isi dharmanit Tarya Srunibirnrubirasya Mane Chindya Tipira Sayarusati Masyatam Prabhusje Jimhamasuna Pitato Visrujet Sadaramaha. The author is finally quoting an important sloka from Bhagavatam as to what to do by a Shiva Bhakta in times of crisis. 1. If mighty and powerful persons are rebuking Shiva, or doing Shiva Dushana in his presence, and he is incapable of opposing them, he should go away from that place, closing his ears. 2. If he is a king, he should cut their tongue on the spot, using force, and leave his body thereafter as penitence for hearing Shiva Dushana, as the king shares 1/6 of the sins committed by his subjects. In this regard, the episode of Parvati burning herself after hearing Shiva Dushana at the time of Dakshayagnam is an example of this. Therefore, it is not advisable either to speak or have discussions with those who are Shiva Dushakas or speak ill of Shiva. Thus it is established that Shaiva Siddhanta is the essence of all Vedas, guarantor of salvation, and greatest of all philosophies. Chapter 12. Conclusion with author's parentage. Sloka 37. Bharadvaja kulakshira paravarahimam suna srimadudbhata vamsena agoranada tanubhava. Sloka 38. Srijwalamba garbhasukti matikena vipaschita Kadito Nagalingena Saiva Siddhanta Sangraha. In these two concluding slokas, the author is stating that his Gautam is Bharadwajasa and that he belongs to Udabhataradhya Vamsham, His father's name is Agoranatharadya, his mother's name is Dwalamba, and his name is Nagalinga, and that this book, titled Saiva Siddhanta Sangraha in Sanskriti, is stated by him. A brief resume of the author's parentage, life history, his achievements, and the names of the books written by him are given separately at the beginning and end of this book, which may be seen. Shiva Rakshatu,